There's been a global outpouring of tributes for Pope Francis. They're continuing as more than 1 billion Catholics remember a life that moved so many.
The world in mourning as millions reflect on the life of the people's Pope, Pope Francis.
It was because of Pope Francis that I came back to embrace my faith.
We should emulate him. He was a man who had a heart for the weak and the poor.
World leaders paying tribute to a man who was never afraid to stand his ground.
He was a good man, worked hard. He loved the world.
The Pope has done a lot not only for his flock, but for the world in general.
Alongside the grief for the death of Pope Francis, I feel a sense of emptiness.
I wanted to express here all the sadness we feel at this time and the great pain shared by many in France.
It is a painful loss. May he rest in peace.
In the Pope's native South America, leaders from across the political spectrum with a rare show of unity. And here at home, a mark of respect as party leaders suspend campaigning.
Today, the prayers of more than 1 billion people from all nations and every walk of life go with Pope Francis to his rest.
This is a moment of mourning, but it's also a moment of celebration of a life that was one of sacrifice, of mercy and of forbearance.
The faithful gathering for memorial mass across Australia.
You seen him on Sunday and then you see him, he's gone the next day, like, you know, it's just... But anyways, it's a good man gone, you know.
So loving, so loving. Yeah, I will really miss him.
The Pope's passing has triggered a 9-day period of mourning, with the funeral expected in between 4 and 6 days' time. At the Pope's request, the funeral process will be stripped back. His final resting place, a simple, unadorned tomb at his favourite church in Rome, rather than the vast St. Peter's Basilica.
He didn't want it to be a funeral for a monarch or a great important man in the world. He wanted it to be for a pastor.
But tonight, an outpouring of emotion as millions remember the life of the great Pope Francis.
He has accomplished his mission in this world, in this earth, and now he's with God.
Well, Claire Giangrave is a Vatican correspondent with the Religion News Service. She spent 13 years covering the Pope. Claire, it's such an emotional time for so many across the world. As someone who's worked closely alongside Pope Francis for so long, how are you feeling at the moment?
It's definitely been a beyond the journalistic experience of having covered this man and his powerful legacy, also a personally very moving time. I can think back of certain moments where I was surprised by Pope Francis's very human behavior. One comes to mind when he had just gotten out of the hospital to be treated for several of the issues that were troubling him with his knee. And he saw a woman who walked up to him and she had just lost her child. And the way he embraced her, I think I will really never forget that moment. And there are moments like that that just don't resonate with me, but with so many others. When he, you know, knelt down to kiss the feet of inmates or warring parties in South Sudan.
Oh, he seemed to be...
His papal clothing would sweep over his face or his zucchetto would fly away.
What was it like, Claire, to work with the Pope?
Well, it was difficult because he was a man who loved surprises. And, you know, the Vatican is a place that has a lot of rituals and standard ways of doing things. And he would often keep us all on our feet, just trying to figure out what is he going to do next time. So if, you know, just think about the last few days where he would just be seen strolling through St. Peter's Basilica, just wearing a poncho and saying hello to kids and faithful, or amazing believers in the square to say one last goodbye, we now know, to faithful on Easter Sunday. I mean, it was just always keeping us guessing, always keeping us on our toes, not just from a practical standpoint, but I think he wanted to do that spiritually as well.
Claire, you would have spent so much time with him and seen him interact with so many people. Were there ever moments where you saw through the Pope and saw the man behind the papacy? And if so, what was it that you saw?
Well, that's a difficult question. I think most people, when they meet the Pope, and I would agree with that, is the smiling attitude. He's one of the most important people in the world, but he would look at you as if you were the only person there. That would happen to me when I would ask him questions, when I would greet him, and I was startled by that on several occasions. But people forget that this pastoral, welcoming, open Pope was also a reformer. This part of his legacy has so far not been discussed so much, but that means that he walked in, he changed up things happened in the Vatican and made some enemies along the way. So yes, sometimes I would see that sterner, tougher Pope who would have to keep people in line, and I was startled by that as well.
Wow, what a legacy he leaves. And Claire, what memories that you have of him too. What a position. Thank you so much for sharing him with us.